In this episode, we'll be learning what it means to build an abundant and fulfilling life from an abundance and life activation coach who helps with intuitive connections with our inner vision. Welcome back to the show, Petia. How are you doing?
I am so excited to be back here. I feel like the last conversation was so rich. I'm like, we gotta repeat this. We gotta go even deeper and richer this time. So I'm really honored to be here today.
Yes, I'm so happy and delighted that you made it. Even with your state right now, you are pregnant and you still made the time out to be on this show for a sober conversations. Thank you so much, Betty. I cannot thank you enough for that opportunity. I mean, you in the first conversation that we had in the first episode that we recorded together, we talked so much about your life story. We talked about the shift that you've experienced and living that abundant life also. And afterwards, I know you got married in between. Now you're expecting a baby. How has that all been like for you? Like that shift, that change after the conversation.
It's so fascinating because I feel like sometimes when people look at us, like when we I don't know if I want to like call myself like public figure, but like I have my podcast, I have my social media, I have my live events. So
Yeah.
people are watching me. And sometimes when people come into my life and they're new, they can just look at like what is, right? Like the current reality, and they see like, oh, she's pregnant, she's married, she has a successful business, she's traveling the world, she's happy. And thankfully, we share my story that it hasn't been always this way. I
Mm.
went through struggle, darkness, depression, anxiety, attempt to suicide. And so sometimes when we're going through this journey, we feel like, ooh, I have already learned a lesson. I've already conquered this. I am good. And then life brings you like more layers.
Mm.
Life brings you more teaching experiences. And that's what I really feel like I've been going through the past really year, because now for me it's like a really full circle of death and rebirth this year, because last year, last May, I got pregnant with twins. I didn't know I was expecting twins. And a
Wow.
couple months later, we lost the first baby. And then 1 month later, month and a half later, we lost the second. And when I
Mm.
lost the second, I didn't even know I was still pregnant. So
Mm.
for me, that was really a hard time. And thankfully, like I had so much support in my family, my husband, my community. But it was a really dark time. And it's interesting because, like I said, people can look at us and they think we have it all figured out. In
Mm.
life, it's always happening for all of us. We always go through changes and evolution and shifts. And I feel like as collective, and that's what I'm noticing in my life now and also in my clients that I get to work with now, that we're going through collective shifts, that no longer we can stay in the old. No longer we can do the things that we used to do, like,
Mm.
numbing with food or alcohol or games or shopping, like whatever, right? Used to be our escape.
Yeah.
Right now, it just doesn't allow us to do it. We are propelled to do things differently. And so I really had to go inward and look at my life and take a big inventory. How do I want to live? How do I want to lead? How do I want to do my life and my business? And I had to change that. And then, a couple months later, after our loss, I got pregnant. Now I'm pregnant with a healthy baby girl.
Mm.
And it's such a blessing. And for me, it's literally celebrating miracle every single day. Like
Mm.
when you experience that grief, and it doesn't matter if you lost a baby or lost a loved one or was betrayed or lost, your fate in someone, something, we all in certain times of our lives are going through these transitions when we are called forth to reevaluate our life.
Mm.
And I'm no longer available for what I used to do before. I'm calling in different type of clientele. I create a different type of, I'm still coaching, of course, but
Mm.
it's a little bit different dynamics, because I'm like, literally, this is such a sacred time. to be pregnant, to be with my family. Having baby inside of me, it's for like 9-10 months, and that's it,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So it really made me reevaluate, how am I living? How am I doing my business? Who am I accepting to work with? Because it has to feel really good to me, the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Like energy is so important.
Of
And so I
course.
feel like last year was such a huge teaching experience for me, and
Mm.
it keeps unfolding. I'm not done,
Mm.
and we will never be done.
It
It's
will never
like
be done.
never, it will always. And when we can embrace that, when we can stop resisting the changes and shifts and unexpected things happening in our lives,
Mm.
then we can have this sense of fulfillment and freedom, because we release the idea that we're in charge and can control things. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, we need a lot of luck for that actually. And I'm so happy that you said that, life happens for us. Like that's a positive mindset right there. Because like you said already, we are all experiencing these collective changes and we have to embrace it because we like it or we don't like it, changes will surely come. Changes are the only constant things that we have in this world, unfortunately. So I mean, it's important for us to embrace that. And I'm so happy that you opened up and shared about the miscarriage that you experienced last May. I'm so sorry for your loss, and I'm so happy now that you are being blessed right now with a healthy girl, and you're going to carry it through and give birth to the baby girl, and you're going to enjoy a wonderful life with this baby girl also. That's my prayer.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I know it's something. I mean, from my little research so far, I know women find it very difficult to talk about miscarriages. So I feel so much respect for you right now that open about it and you talk about it. So how was that experience like for you? Was it traumatic, and how were you able to deal with that trauma and heal from it, and even have the, will I say, courage in quotation mark to decide to get pregnant again?
Hmm. Such a great question. And like you said, it's really challenging to like talk about it, but I feel like it's even worse not to talk about it, because when I lost, our pregnancy, I really felt like very, very, like very dark time. I felt depressed. I didn't want to be, there were moments that I'm like, why am I even here if I'm not even capable to keep a life in me? Like there was so much heaviness and shame and guilt, and like, I will never know what happened.
Mm,
I had a session with like psychic medium who told me it was like, um, genetical, that there's nothing that I did wrong, but you will never be 100% certain. You will never know why life chose to continue or not to continue.
mm,
So I gave myself some time to grieve, and I am so thankful for my husband and, my friends and family who held me in those moments that I didn't want to do anything. I just didn't want to show up. I didn't want to be adulting. And there was just so much heaviness and grief and upset and anger. Like my
mm,
husband, he tried to tell me, like, talk to God. I'm like, no, I'm upset.
mm,
I don't want to. I'm angry. Why would God do this? Like, we're good people. We are so loving, so nurturing. Like, why would this happen? Right. So
yeah.
there were like so many emotional waves that I was going through into like, okay, acceptance, like everything is happening for a reason. Then you're trying to be logical, and then you go back to the emotions and anger and despair and like depression. Like I really didn't want to do anything and go anywhere, and I just gave myself the time to grieve. We did couple ceremonies, and it's so fascinating. I went through one, and then I didn't know I was, like, had a second baby inside of me, because when I was in ultrasound the first time, it's so little that you just can't tell.
Mm,
And then when we traveled in Mexico, like I lost the second one, and it was just such a shock
mm,
for my body, for my soul, going through that. I feel like the second time it wasn't as intense, but it was still painful, and it was still
mm,
shock, and it was still like, what is happening right now?
yeah.
So working through that, and we did some ceremonies with my husband. Thank goodness he is so loving, so supportive. Like, like he sat with me and he wrote letters with me to our babies, and we created like a beautiful little box of like memories with ultrasound and some crystals and flowers, and like our baby, like the
Mm.
little piece of our baby, like we put it everything in a beautiful box and bury it. And it's interesting because right now where I am, it's our family cabin in Northern California, and that's where the miscarriage happened.
Oh.
That's where we did our like little ceremony for
Mm.
our baby. So being back here and being now 6 months, over 6 months pregnant now,
Mm.
it's just
Mm.
like honoring what I felt, honoring where I was, and also when I was able to feel those feelings, I knew I have to share.
Yeah.
Because like I have friends who lost their babies, and it's so fascinating because even like my mom told me like, yeah, I had a miscarriage. I'm like, you never told me.
Mm.
Like I didn't know. I had to experience my own loss, share them with my mom. So she tells me like, oh yeah, I had like ectopic pregnancy. I'm like, you never told me. And she was like, what for? And can you imagine how many women are living in that? What for? Going through this heaviness and guilt and shame. And I had a couple clients who one lost, baby like 2 weeks before me, and one like a month after me,
Mm.
each were in different stages. But they say that like me sharing my story and me being so like open, because I posted it on my Instagram. I did a podcast episode by myself, and I also did podcast episode with my husband.
Mm.
So there was like a man's perspective of miscarriage, because it's completely different how we perceive it. It's so different for women when we are filled with hormones and your body starts changing, and there's a life being in you, and suddenly it's not there, but
Yeah.
you still have the hormones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So men are perceiving it differently. So he was kind of like giving an advice for men, like how can you support your partner, what can you do, how to deal with if any feelings are arising. So I feel like because of the path that I have chosen to be guide and mentor and coach, it is my responsibility to share my journey, and not just share the butterflies and rainbows,
Mm.
not just share the highlights of my life. And, of course, I give myself space for whatever I need. It's not like something happens and I shout it out from the rooftop. That
Mm.
wouldn't be even responsible because I didn't have time to work through it. And I feel it is my responsibility to show life as it is and show that it can still be beautiful and rich and abundant. And like there are miracles happening every day when we look for them and celebrate them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm so grateful that you are sharing this, and you also talked about it on your podcast too. I'm going to place the link to your website, and also people can find information about your podcast on your website also, and the show notes of this episode, so that they could look for that those episodes, listen to them, and then become even much more enriched. And then when we're talking about it, when we talk about, sorry, I'm a bit emotional right now. But in the first episode that we recorded together, I know we talked more about your life, and we talked about your the services that you also offer. But right now, I would also love us to uh, I would love you to advise the women out there, or people out there who are going through this kind of loss or something similar. What can they do right now at this moment to come out of it, or process it in the right healthy way? Yeah.
Hmm. Such a powerful question. And, I feel like every person just grieves differently and we get to accept it. Some people need to go inward, like really accept where you are and how you're feeling.
Mm.
And it's so interesting because I feel like if you have never experienced, you will never know,
Yeah.
So
True.
if you went through this, know that you're not alone, know that it wasn't your fault, know that, you know, it's going to pass. It will never go away. I'm not going to lie and say like, oh, with time you will forget. There's still like we were watching a movie with my husband, and there was a woman who went through a miscarriage, and I had complete meltdown.
Mm.
I could, and that was just a movie, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I could feel the pain, and I could, so allow yourself to be where you are. Don't try to rush it. And you get to understand that grief goes through waves.
Mm.
You will feel one day that you are better, like, okay, this passed. And then suddenly you will see something or someone or hear something or someone, and
Yeah.
it will just bring all the emotions back. And it's okay.
Mm.
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to give yourself time to heal and really know that your own way of processing things and grieving, it's perfect for you. Like, for
Mm.
example, for me, processing was like crying all day, every day, like, and then being held by my husband, and then do the post and do the recordings. That was my way to process things, to talk about it. But
Mm.
maybe your way, it's just go inward. And I feel like what really bold helped us was to write the letter to our unborn child, and to see it as something that we're going through together. Because like there was an like anger that I was feeling at the beginning, because my husband was trying to support me. I was like, you have no idea how I feel. And of course he doesn't. He will never experience it. He doesn't know what does it feel like to be pregnant. He doesn't know what does it feel like to be filled with hormones and emotions and your body changing, and then like feeling that immense like pain. He will never. So, like, allow yourself to be held, and
Mm.
you gotta say, what do you need? I think it's so important that we don't expect from others to know what to say and what to do.
Mm.
You can, there are help groups, and I'm not a group person, so that's why I choose not to do that.
Mm.
I prefer personally, even when I'm coaching, even when I'm with people, I prefer one-on-one. So
Mm.
that's what I did. I connected with my best friend who had 2 miscarriages. I connected deeply with my husband, and I just told him, I just need to be held. You don't
Mm.
have to say anything. You don't have to do anything.
Mm.
Just hold me. Just, touch my hair. That's all I need. I
Yeah.
just needed a space. And I gave myself like hours sitting in a shower and crying, listening to songs about miscarriages, and really allow it to all come through. So accept where you are, ask for what you need, accept your way of grieving, and don't expect others to understand. Even if other people went through the loss like this, it's your body, it's your
Mm.
experience, it's your past.
Yes.
So ask for what you need. I feel like sometimes we expect people to read our minds, and then
Mm.
it's painful on both sides.
Mm.
Especially women are trying, like, man, like, hey, you should, if you would have loved me, you would know I need to be
Mm.
held. If you would have loved me, you would know how I feel. And that's not true, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
You gotta say, hey, this is important to me. This is how I feel. Don't be like pointing fingers, like you should know and whatever, like you better. It's
Mm.
not about that. Like, bring it back to yourself and bring it into the I instead of blaming and showing.
Yes, yes, I love that answer. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because sometimes for me, for example, when I find myself in such situation where people share their story with me, for example, or I'm with someone who has experienced a loss, sometimes I get confused. I don't know what to do, how to show my love, how to show my support, how to show, is it empathy or sympathy for that person at the moment. So sometimes I love the fact that it's nice if the person could tell me how to show love and help and support. That we are able to know exactly what to do, to console them at that moment. Also, that's good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also the great thing is, so you can ask, what do
Mm.
you need from me right now? Because sometimes my husband asks me, when I'm going through my meltdown, or like pregnant or not pregnant, it's just like women go through emotions. Well,
Yeah.
human go through emotions, but I feel like we just have like changes in our bodies.
Yeah.
And so he asked me, like, what do you need from me right now? Do
Mm.
you need me to listen? Do you need me to hold you? Do you need me to offer you solution? Because sometimes we also try to give people unsolicited advice. Like I don't want to say the worst for me, but like when I was going through my loss and I was feeling depressed and people told me like, oh, don't worry, you will have another one. It was like, are you kidding? It's like if your husband just died, I'm like, oh, or your wife just died. I was like, oh, you can remarry.
Mm.
You would want to kill that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Of
I
course.
am in the middle of the grief. I don't want to hear about butterflies and rainbows. I am feeling all of this. And it's not like, I know people think that it's positive. It's not helping.
Yeah.
It's really not helping. And even my husband, like I think he said it like once, and then I explained him like that doesn't really work when he said like, oh, like we'll have another baby. I'm like, don't even go there. And
Mm.
there was a time, because you mentioned it, like the courage to have another one. When I was going through the miscarriage and after that, like, a couple months, I'm like, I don't know if I can go through this ever again.
Mm.
I really didn't know if I have the strength. I cannot imagine, and there are women who go through multiple losses. I cannot even imagine.
Mm.
So I told him, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And he was like, of course you can, blah, blah. I was like, you have no idea how this feels. It literally felt like part of me died.
Mm.
I felt incapable as women. Like it's even just think about the word miscarried, miscarriage. It's like I missed something. I did something wrong. I wasn't able to carry our baby to full term. It's so heavy. So I feel like it's really important to give yourself time, and we did a lot of work around it, whether you're spiritual, whether you're religious, like lean into that, lean into the faith, lean into that spirituality. Like I had Reiki session healing me and my husband. We went to church. I had womb clearing. I did, like feminine, like dances to release the womb pain. I
Mm.
work with a midwife who did like special massages, so do the work. I would never, and each to their own, of course, but I would not recommend to like lose a baby and let's hop on it and let's do another one. It's like give yourself, your body and soul space to heal and do things differently.
Yeah.
And for me, it was also like when I was able to think again, because when you're going through the grief and depression, you are just not thinking clearly. But when I was able to look back, I'm like, oh, I wonder, like, of course, like I tried to figure it out, like what happened, which I will never know. But I also look at my life. I'm like, I wonder, like, why the baby would choose not to come.
Mm.
And for me, I look at it and it's like, okay, like we just expanded our business. We made big financial investments. We are planning to move. We're traveling. So maybe I wasn't feeling safe and settled down. Maybe I didn't feel grounded. And the baby says, like, let's try a different time when the mom
Mm.
feels more like settled, more grounded, more at
Yeah.
peace. We were looking for a house back then. And there were just like so many things going on. Like, can you do it? Of course, it doesn't mean that your life have to be perfect to conceive a child. Like we know there's so many people who conceive child they didn't even want, or by
Mhm.
accident, or
Mhm.
by force, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they still carry the child to life. And I really feel like the souls who are coming now to the earth are so much more conscious, and they don't want to deal with like our baggage. So they're like, hey, you deal with your stuff, you do your healing, and then I will choose when I come. So I really feel like, and I said it before, like the consciousness, it's really shifting. Who
Yeah.
we are being and what is happening in the world, we need the shift. We need it. We need the
Mm.
world to upgrade the vibration and energy and come back to love and come back to unity versus constantly fighting, comparing, judging. Like, it's not getting better if we don't get better along the way.
Yes, yes. For us to be able to make progress in any changes that we're experiencing in life or whatever loss or grief that we're experiencing in life, we have to collectively also, be good basically and, look at it from the side of, yeah, I'm going to learn something from this and I'm going to move forward from it. I'm going to grow from this. I'm going to heal from whatever past, trauma or experiences that I've had that could even hold me back or tie me down to the past. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, and that's part of reason why I'm so happy that we're speaking today, and also because of what you do and from your experience also and your background also, you know, when one has experienced such a loss, like maybe a miscarriage or maybe loss of a loved one, for example, there's this kind of darkness that one feels or experiences in some ways. And maybe a light goes off in one's life, or one feels, I can't do this again. I can't fall in love again. I can't, I don't want to even ever I don't want to ever get pregnant again, for example, or whatever, it might be because one has that fear of experiencing that loss all over again. So, how can we get rid of this and how can we, bring back light into our life, like activate the light that's within us that has been killed due to
Hmm.
past traumas and pains.
Hmm. So interesting, because the first thing that really came for me when I heard you speaking, it's like trying to get rid of something, it's never a good thing. I feel like when we trying to get rid of something, it's just like ignoring the dark side and the shadow, and it never works because we have to embrace the wholeness, really. In order to experience the light, you get to embrace the fact that there is a darkness.
Mm,
Without the dark, we wouldn't be able to embrace the light. So it's not about getting rid of something, it's about accepting it and asking yourself, how is this serving me? Like, even when I was betrayed and cheated on in my past relationships, it was so painful. And I could say, like, all men are cheaters and I will never go into the relationship, right?
mhm,
But what I chose instead, I just said, like, what is this teaching me? What am I not willing to do or accept in a next relationship? What am I going to do differently? So instead of like getting rid of something, I feel like we're being really invited into acceptance and embracing the wholeness and fullness of the possibilities, learning experience, and then it helps us uplift. It helps us to do things differently. And, I'm willing that better,
mm,
so whether it's love, whether it's relationship, whether it's your job, whether it's your business, whether it's your health,
mm,
everything, it's your teacher. So you can just ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I become better throughout this journey? And what am I choosing instead? What am I choosing instead of this experience? And
mm,
it will change who you are being. It will change your energy and your vibration, and as a result, you will be attracting different people and experiences.
mm,
But you cannot do it by trying to like get rid of something. Like, we're trying to avoid pain and suffering, and like, it's inevitable.
mm,
It will be happening. It's human experience. You will have different tools, you will have a different wisdom, and that's what you are being invited to, like, really, like, like, it's not like I know it all and I know all the answers. I just share like how I feel it. And like, with each suffering you can change, and
mm.
you can like choose differently, and maybe the answers would be different.
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, you're totally right. Like it's important for us to embrace both sides. Like embrace the light, embrace the darkness. I mean, you embracing the darkness will give you much more respect for the light that you activating in your life. You know the what the value of that light. You won't take it for granted when the light starts to shine in your life because you know how it felt like to be in the dark and what it looks like, and you don't want to go back to that again. But you've gotten the lessons from that already, and that lesson has helped you now to even appreciate that light, no matter how small, how
Mm-hmm.
bright, how dim it might be. You would embrace it and be grateful
Mm-hmm.
for it also. Yeah, and talking about embracing both sides and every things that every experience that we have in life, how can we embody our fullest self-expression?
Such a beautiful question. And I feel like it's about releasing the conditioning. If you could do anything and be anyone, what would it look like? What would it feel like? Instead of like swimming in the ocean of the shoulds, I should do this, I should go there, I should say this. It's if I can do anything and I would
mm,
know I'd succeed, what would I do? And
mm,
it's so freeing to ask ourselves that, and it's no daydreaming or woo-woo stuff. It's just like aligning with that energy of possibilities instead of complaining.
mm.
So I feel like to embrace the highest version of ourselves, the truest selves, it's you gotta get to know yourself, you gotta release the conditioning, you gotta release the expectations that were put on you. And what really really helped me the most, the recent years, was learning and studying and teaching a human design, because human design really helps you. It's like a energetic maps of your soul, like who did you
Mm,
came here to be. So it
mm.
really goes back into understanding yourself. And you can go on my Instagram or website. I have there like a free chart that you can just plug in your birthday, birth time, and birthplace and see what is your design. But I feel like if you want to really embrace the truest version of you, you got to know who you are, right? Like it seems like
Yes.
logic, but we lose ourselves in relationships and jobs and with other people, careers. And it's really about going back to the basics, going back into understanding yourself in such a depth you haven't understand yourself before. And that's why I'm using human design every single day with every single person I get to
Mm,
speak to, or if someone wants to work with me. I do readings for my clients, or for people who I don't like. It's not like I'm human design expert and hire me
yeah.
for that. It's a
Mm,
big part of my life and my business. And when people want to learn more about human design, they message me and I can do readings. But I feel like it really goes back into the core of who you came here to be and accepting it
mm.
versus trying to be everything for everyone in this world.
Yes, I mean we cannot be everything for everyone in this world, and I think I would say from experience also trying to please everyone, trying to fit into every box, it will put you in some kind of cage or bondage, basically. And that's one thing that I would even love to ask you actually, like how can we then get free from all the bondages that we've created for ourselves, created that have been created due to maybe traumas or pains, for example. How can we break free from all these limiting beliefs and then maybe create new levels of freedom and abundance for ourselves?
That's a powerful question. And I feel like, one, it really goes back into understanding yourself, because then you will see clearly what is conditioning, what is your true belief, and what is limiting belief.
Mm,
And
mm,
what is the thing is what is stopping you, it's really you. So
true.
giving yourself permission to be radically honest with yourself and not trying to like blame on circumstances, places, and people, but really take the radical responsibility and say, what can I do? So one, learning human design and understanding yourself. Two, knowing what are your true core values, what do you truly believe in, and
Mm,
then start embodying it, because then you will be attracting different people and opportunities.
mhm,
And then like making sure that every single day you do something that you pour into yourself that will help you grow emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So whether it's movement, meditation, mantras, prayer, music, like doing something for yourself that helps you to disconnect from the world. And my favorite way, it's going to nature or sitting in a shower or anywhere by the water.
mm,
Disconnect from the world and reconnect to yourself. There is too much stimulus, too much information, too much technology,
mm,
and we can feel it. We can feel it collectively that we're always plugged into our phones. But
mhm.
it's time to unplug from everything and plug yourself in back to the nature and back to yourself.
Yes. Back to the nature, back to yourself, unplug from every external stimuli. Yeah. For anyone who's interested in this human design, I'm going to encourage them to visit your website again. On your website, you have a lot of information about not only human design, but your coaching programs. You have a lot of transformation and life coaching services that you offer, and other things that you do. I mean, you are an abundance of services, basically. So yeah, and
Abundance everywhere.
exactly, abundance everywhere. That's perfect. So I would love you to educate me a little bit or enlighten me on manifestation. Like this is something that has been even before this conversation I've been, hearing a lot about, and it keeps on increasing, 5D, 7D, 3D manifestation. I'm like, okay, Petia must tell me about manifestation and all of this 3D, 5D, 7D, whatever it's they all mean.
Oh, it's that would be like a conversation for another like few hours that I don't think we have today, really.
Yeah.
Such a deep conversation. And you know the thing, it's like it's just the realities looking at like, third dimensional reality, fifth dimensional reality, seven dimensional we are multidimensional beings,
Mm,
and right now we are living in a 3D world. They're like third dimension right here, right now, and that's kind of matrix. That's kind of the hamster wheel that we have created for ourselves. You are born, you go to school, you're being good boy or good girl, you get a job, you get married, you have couple, 2.5 kids, you work your whole life, then you retire, then you die. Like, we were conditioned to do this. However, the easiest way to look at manifestation is to look at knowing that you don't attract in your life what you want, you attract who you are. Like
mm,
your energy, your vibration. If you don't believe in yourself, if you're, have a negative self-talk, it will reflect on the people and circumstances. I feel like whatever you believe, it's God, universe, source, whatever, it's always saying yes to us. Like, oh, I'm nothing, I'm no one, I'm not enough. Okay, yes, my child, so
mm.
you gotta shift how you're feeling about yourself, how you're showing up in the world, and then your reality can change. That's how you manifest. You're manifesting through your beliefs and who you're being and through your energy.
Hmm. Thanks for that. Yeah, we are more than what we see. Basically, we are more than this 3D dimensional. Yeah, I'm going to go deeper into that later. But I mean, it's not for this episode. It's going to be for some other episode probably. Yeah, but, I mean, Petty, I've learned so much from you already, and I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much for opening up about the miscarriage, about telling us how you dealt with that, how you are processing it, and doing everything that you do also. But before I let you go, I have two questions that I'm going to try to fuse into one, and that's going to be, you know, considering everything that we've talked about. I know that we have gifts within us that still has to be activated. Things that we have to give to the world. So how can we, respecting everything that we've experienced, the trauma, the pain, and troubles of life, how can we activate these gifts and at the same time achieve our goals with ease and flow?
Mm. My favorite topic, and I wish I would have another couple hours to talk about it. And I feel like it comes back into really honoring yourself, to really activating your abundance codes. It's to respect and love yourself the way you would love to be respected and loved. Because every single day I start pouring into myself, because I feel like the way we treat ourselves, we're teaching the world and the universe how we want to be treated. So really
Mm,
activating the abundance, it's yes, looking at our limiting beliefs and how we can shift that. And I do that with my clients through neuro-linguistical programming or breath
mm,
work
mm,
and many different beautiful modalities. But we have to really shift into pouring into yourself first. Create the rituals and routines that really feel good to you, because when you feel good, you attract good. Then you're activating the abundance. And it's fascinating right now, because I'm in my second trimester and I do have a little bit extra energy. We gotta enjoy that. I'm not sure when this is going to be launched, but right now I'm offering free abundance activation call that it's 30 minutes. When I look at people, what are the limiting beliefs, where they are, where might be some blind spots, and to see how to uncover them and help them walk away with actionable steps, what they can do in their life or their business, because I work
mm.
with a lot of entrepreneurs, how they can really shift those realities into the abundance. So I can share with you the link later too.
Yes, that'll be great. I would love to put that in the show notes of this episode so anyone who's interested could just get across to you and be on that call
Mm-hmm.
with you also. Yeah. So Petia, I mean, I've learned so much from you. If there's someone out there who still has more questions to ask you, they should just get on that call with you I believe, and they could just ask you any questions they have. Or is there any other way you would love people to connect and work with you?
I love when people like message me on Instagram. It's a beautiful way for me to connect, you know. So I feel like that's the easiest way. Of course, you can check out my website for the abundance activation call, but I love connecting with people just through Instagram, through my name, Petia Kolibova, and or sending me email at Petia Kolibova, hello at petiakolibova.com. I love connecting with people to support them, really, to create more abundance in their life.
Yes, thank you so much for that. All the information will be in the show notes of this episode. Please listen to the podcast also, the Abundance Mindset podcast. The link and everything is also on the website from Petia's website also. Thank you so much. I appreciate this so much. It's wonderful speaking with you again on the second episode. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being such a great host and those beautiful, powerful questions. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.